I was speaking to you only last week. I was in West London at the Grenfell Tower estate. You were in Borough Market, the site of two horrific incidents in the capital, and here we are again. People will be waking up this morning wondering just how much more can we take.
Well, this has been a horrific terrorist attack on Seven Sisters Road in Finsbury Park. One person has died on the scene, another 8 taken to 4 different hospitals. The police response was very speedy. They were there in moments, and so like you, I pay tribute to the emergency services. But you know, the attack on Westminster Bridge, the attack on London Bridge, the attack in Manchester, the attack last night, all of these are attacks on our shared values of freedom, of tolerance, and of respect. And terrorism is terrorism, whether someone's inspired by an Islamist narrative or other forms of, inverted commas, inspiration. And look, of course we're grieving. We're grieving for those victims of terror, but also for the Grenfell Tower victims. And well, our thoughts are always with them. But look, we're a great city. We can't allow these terrorists to fuel division or to change the way we lead our lives. And the Muslim Welfare House, the centre, the mosque, where these people were leaving last night, the worshippers. The month of Ramadan is a very pious month for us, and at night time we perform the Tarawih prayer, which finishes quite late. They had a great get-together only a few days ago with people from different faiths coming together to remember the message of Joe Cox, which is we have far, far, far more in common that unites us than divides us.
We seem to be having a few issues with the sound there, Mayor, but let me just ask you this. We've had a lot of comments from people here in this community in Finsbury Park saying that they feel there's been a big increase in Islamic-phobic attacks over recent weeks. Many people here have said that they are feeling less and less safe in London, less and less safe in their communities. Do you think we've taken our eye off the ball somewhat? Do you think because the emergency services are so stretched, we're not giving the reassurance that the Muslim community requires and needs?
Well, first the good news before the bad news. The good news is after the Westminster Bridge terrorist attack, we didn't see the big spike in hate crimes, Islamophobic crimes we see when there's terrorist incidents. The bad news is we have seen a big spike after London Bridge. And my key message to everyone in London and across the country, in fact, is please report if you're the victim of hate crime. Don't think it's too trivial. Don't think the police won't take it seriously. The police force I'm responsible for, the Met Police Service, have a zero tolerance towards hate crime. I very recently set up the country's first online hate crime hub. Our police officers work incredibly hard. I've been lobbying for the last 13 months for more resources for our police service. On the limited resources they have, they do a great job. But please, please, please report this, because we will take action. Perpetrators will be caught, they will be arrested, they will be prosecuted.
And we've heard a story of bravery today. It appears that members of the public pulled the man from the van and kept him detained until the police arrived to arrest him. And when things got heated, the imam from the welfare centre where people had been worshipping managed to calm the situation down and make sure that they didn't try and enact their own retaliation.
Well, there are a number of good stories that come out of this evil act. Firstly, the fact that the citizens from that community made a citizen's arrest, stopped and apprehended this man. Secondly, when things were getting very heated, and we can understand why, Imam Mohammed did a really good job in calming things down and making sure that justice can be done as it should be done via due process, rather than anybody taking the law into their own hand. And I've been in contact with Muslim Welfare House. I rang them during the course of the night in the early hours. As you'd expect, the local MP, a very hard-working man called Jeremy Corbyn, he was there. I spoke to the leader of the council, Richard Watt. This is a good community. They pull together, they work closely with each other, and the actions of Imam Mohammed are what I'd expect from a good faith leader and from a good Muslim leader.
We've heard a lot over recent weeks about counter-terrorism operations, about surveillance of Islamist extremists, of surveillance of numerous individuals in the country and plots that have been foiled. We don't hear a great deal about the other side of the coin, and obviously it's far too early to point fingers, but we mustn't forget that the security services are also monitoring those from other extreme groups, far-right groups, white supremacy groups and the like.
Well, speaking in general terms, I mean, I have regular briefings, as you'd expect, with the counter-terror teams, and they do work really hard, not just dealing with those potential terrorists and terrorists who are inspired by an Islamist perverse ideology, but also, as you rightly said, by other forms of terrorism as well. And what's important to recognise is, just like you've got people trying to brainwash, indoctrinate, radicalise youngsters and others in a perverse version of Islam, similarly, there are people trying to radicalise, indoctrinate, brainwash others using other motivations as well. But both these groups, all these groups, one of the key objectives they have is to try and fuel division, to try and divide our communities. What all of them hate is our shared values of freedom, of tolerance, of respect. And what's important, particularly after the commemoration of the anniversary of the horrific murder of Joe Cox, is we remember genuinely, it's not a platitude, it's a fact of life being a Londoner. And I say this as the Mayor of London, but also a proud Brit. There is far, far, far more in common we've got with each other that unites us than divides us. We can be proud, Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, those members of an organised faith and those who aren't, rich, poor, old, young. And what they hate is the fact that we get on with each other. We don't simply tolerate each other. We respect, embrace and celebrate each other.
And just before we let you go, I want to ask you a question about leadership. There's been a lot of talk about leadership, hasn't there, over the last few days? Criticism and praise. What sort of leadership do we need to see today?
Well, we need to see a proportionate response. We need to make sure we get to the facts as soon as we can. In the meantime, we need to reassure the communities in Finsbury Park and across London. They will be seen in London, I can say, as the Mayor of London, increased police officers at and around mosques. At the same time, we can't take our eye off the fact that at Grenfell Tower, there are grieving families who are really struggling to cope because of the woefully inadequate response from the local council and from central government. We can do more than one thing at a time. We've got to make sure we do right by those victims at Grenfell Tower, also deal with the challenges we have of terrorism, and with the right leadership, we can do both those things and much.
We will make America great again.